Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is LolaAjisafe. Today we're going to be reviewing, put a ring on it. This is season 2, episode 5. Now before we start, household or housekeeping, please remember to like, let me stop playing around. Like the video, please make a comment, drop a comment what you think. This show is turning out to be interesting. I'm pleasantly surprised. So I watched last season, but I didn't review last season. So I'm pleasantly surprised as to, I think when you focus on something, you actually start seeing things you can take out of it. Otherwise, you're just kind of watching a show and assimilate it. But when I actually have to look at it to come talk about it, I'm actually getting things that I don't think I got last season when I just watched it. All right, enough of that. Anyway, okay, so like, comment, and don't forget to subscribe. So we're going straight into it. So first couple, we're going to be starting with Jessica and Eric. Jessica goes on a date with somebody called Sean. I don't know, he looked interesting, she looks interesting, they're interested. They go to, I think it's some tequila tasting. This is neither here nor there, that's not important. But what I thought was important to note was during the date, they're having their little shot there. She threw that thing down like a pro. But what was more important for me was what I found or what I observed during the date was she constantly required reassurance, was actually requesting it. If it was this, if I was single, would you think this? Would it just constantly needing that? And that seems a little too needy for, not my observation for a first date, particularly if you just kind of feel, or maybe she's doing that because she knows she's just here to play, but not necessarily serious about dating. I don't know, but it seemed a little odd and maybe a reflection of what she may not be getting in her relationship. So there's this void that she's now trying to use a stranger to fill by telling her how amazing she has a kid or two, and she has two. Maybe I wasn't paying attention, but I don't remember her discussing two girls, 12 and 8. That's no small feat. So she's not there just sitting down knitting. She's doing some work. Two girls are not easy ones to raise. So I had no idea, I guess it's, maybe I wasn't listening or just as it's unfolding. So they have something in common. They both have girls. So the counseling session there's usually a weekly counseling session the couples or a couple will have with Dr. Nicole. So this week, Eric and Jessica sit down. And I know in the past videos I talked about, there was something he wasn't doing or was doing intentionally in terms of making her feel less than, probably pecking, like almost trying to create a trigger. I think this question was answered there. I didn't know why he was doing it, but now I understand. So they go into talking about, some of the, some concern about his trust of her or for her, or whatever the case may be. Now it makes sense. Apparently, during the time when he was kind of going through some turmoil, there's some question or something happened in terms of whether she was, emotionally cheating on him with a professional athlete. So that really kind of was like a kick in the gut. Almost like she was trying to replace him, and he says it was within a week of him finding out he'd been cut. So when he talked, like usually he seems to be like a jovial but when he was talking about dead fears, his face was dead serious, deadpan, like, okay, so you're now seeing a side to him that we don't see all the time, the side that he likes to keep kind of covered up. So he was in pain for that. Now the question here is, I don't think it doesn't look like anything physical happened, because it looks like he wouldn't be there if it was. But based on the fact there was some emotional connection or something that they had, the back and forth they had, he's still kind of angry about it, and they haven't had a conversation or done something to deal with it. So it's lingering in the air. And I think Dr. Nicole suggested as much as that is either, you sit on the pot and take crap, or you get off the pot. As in, don't dawdle, just stop kind of hanging, don't keep dragging it. Because what you're doing is while you're dragging on this, you're preventing yourself from achieving something over here. Maybe not a relationship that might click. So it's either make it click, work through it, or don't, and just separate and figure it out. And he kind of nodding like he understood. Because usually he just kind of, it's all like light and fairy and airy and everything's fine. But usually when she dug in, like this comes up, and that explains why he's always like, well, I won't say always, but sometimes has a tendency to make little digs. So he still hasn't dealt with it. So when he gets an opportunity to make it feel a little bit small, he'll do that. And that's what we've seen him do, and we didn't understand why. And that looks like that's the reason why. So there was some emotional cheating on her part, particularly during a period of time in his life where he felt like he was on the ground, and when he felt like she should have been there for him. She was there he said in his words, she was there trying to plan her escape if things didn't work out. That can be painful. So that's definitely an issue they need to work through if they're going to make it. So, you know, the Wusa circle, when all the couples kind of get in the circle and they date. So this week, of course, Eric had been put on a breather, so he wasn't going to do any dating. But then Jessica's, of course, they talked about her date with, I already forgot his name already. And she had opted to go on a second date with him. And Eric was like, yeah, sure, that's okay. I don't know if he was like, he's matured, or he says he's, you know, willing to go the distance to see if he can really work on his relationship, or he's preparing to check out. Like he like, oh, it's the quiet before the storm. I'm not sure what all those mean, what his sure, because it could mean a lot of things. Like, that's okay if that's what she wants to do. I think when he's kidding around and joking means he's more connected, but when he's just like, yeah, that's what she wants. So the second couple, Sean and LaRonda. So, you know, this week, LaRonda's been put on a break from dating. So it's only Sean that's going on a date. And, you know, they start off with them, you know, the scene where in the car, you know, LaRonda has her arm, I guess his neck, head, just trying to make him feel comfortable. This is my perception. Trying to make him feel comfortable, but trying to also decipher, you know, why he wanted his, I think it's a third date with Brittany. And he wasn't able to articulate it because, you know, in the past he said he would kind of run away because he doesn't want any trouble. He's trying to step away, doesn't want to get tempted. You know, LaRonda's concern is she feels that she's his first relationship where he's been loyal to her knowledge. So she's a little concerned that if he begins to get emotionally attached, then he might begin to stray or they won't make it. So that kind of leaves her to that because she don't know. What I think? I still think what I thought last week. I still think like, yeah. I feel like, yeah, okay, so yes, Brittany's interesting. Yes, she probably has all these things, but I feel like the initial reaction to saying yes to another date was because LaRonda had said yes to her other date with Mr. Cool, Mr. James, Sir James. I don't remember his name, but we'll find out next week when they go on a date or something. But I feel that was he was reacting to her saying yes to another date with this. He chose not to articulate his reasons for going on another date with Brittany. That's what I think. And of course, with their section, their segment of the Wusa circle, you know, when they sit in that semicircle and discuss their dates with, you know, Dr. Nicole, and then opt to go on another date. So in their circle of version, you know, he had mentioned that Brittany, which I heard on the date, and I thought was odd. Brittany had opted to miss initial tour bus, taking her to one of her gigs in Florida to go on a date with him. And when they say someone is sabotaging themselves for the unknown, that might be, you know, an example of that. Now, I know sometimes people say when you meet that certain person, you're going to do some risky moves because you do. Something in you, more than you, says, let's do it. But I don't know. I would say, ladies, don't sabotage your professional opportunities for an unknown. Sometimes it pays off, but a lot of times it doesn't. You can put it in its place. She could have rescheduled. I don't know, maybe, honestly, she probably didn't reschedule because there was a filming booking that she had to keep, a schedule they had to stick with, so she wanted to be filmed, so she opted to stagger it. But in real life, my honest feeling is don't do it. If he can't make it on Monday, then he'll make it on Wednesday or Friday. But don't put your professional opportunities or career in a limbo for a date. A man's not going to do that. And if he does that, that's suspect. That you should be concerned because some things are more important than others, particularly in certain stages. Now, in another stage of the relationship, one can begin to start thinking differently. But this right up front, when you already have someone, you put this to the side. I'm just saying, hypothetically, I think it's because they had a filming schedule. She opted to go herself and missed the tour bus. But in real life, don't do that. That's just my take on things. I guess he finally opted not to go on another date or fourth, fifth date, whatever the next date was. Case in point. So I guess she made her show, but she staggered that only to be, you know, given her working papers right after. So I think that's an example of don't be particularly in the beginning. There's some further on down you do make some sacrifices, but then again you shouldn't be in a position where you have to sacrifice certain things in terms of your livelihood and your career, unless it's like a crucial moment where not even a sacrifice, but you maybe have to put it on hold, but not so early up front like this. This should not be a situation where you need to sacrifice or put your career at risk for a date. That's what I'm thinking. So anyway, so no more dates with Brittany. You know, Sean looks a little reassured. let's see how this goes. So when we get to the, I always like to save this couple for last. Maybe next week I'll make them first. I don't know, see how I feel. But anyway, so Alexia and Darion. Last week, she had stormed off when he had talked about the date, about however he felt, wanting to, I guess, enjoying, just the fact that he was enjoying the dating process. And she had kind of, instead of expressing herself, she just stormed off like, yeah, whatever, you know that you're not going to disrespect me and blah, blah, blah kind of lingo, which doesn't pay her and it doesn't pay him, don't pay anybody. Nobody, it's not beneficial. So anyway, he goes, I think he was told, he didn't just get up, oh, why don't you go after her? So he goes after her. Anyway, bring her back in. And so Dr. Nicole asked her, ask her a question, like, how she feel about it? She don't like it? Okay, good, handle your feelings. Real simple, handle your feelings. We're all grown-ups here. You weren't forced to be a part of this process. So with it is going to come some growing pains. Handle your feelings. Deal with it. I don't like it, but you don't have to storm off like you're having a tantrum. Handle it. You don't like certain, maybe he may have worded or something. You can have a conversation. I don't like the way you said this because it made me feel like this. Not storm off. So he looking at her like, okay, what's going on? And maybe she's waiting for him to follow. I don't know, but that's not communicating. So we can see she's a part of the miscommunication between them. I don't know, maybe she's taking advantage of the fact that she now has an audience and then she can do this. I don't know if she did this prior before the camera started rolling, but either way, it's not helping her case or their relationship. So hopefully she's taking this in, the information that Dr. Nicole is giving her. So later on, after the Wusa circle, Darion, sits down with Alexia at home and says, you know what? He wants to apologize for his part in, sounding excited about the date and blah, 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 but he wants her to apologize for her about. I think we've had this lesson a couple times. You are only responsible for your part of a miscommunication, misunderstanding, and untruth. So you apologize for your part and don't make that other person's part your business. It's their business to accept, acknowledge, and then offer an apology. You can request an apology, but demand it for one, particularly in these kind of relationship situations. So you're almost like you want to trade, quid pro quo. Like, I give you an apology. If you give me an apology, that means it's not a sincere apology. Right from the Donald Trump book. But anyway, forget about him. So yeah, to me, when he started having a conversation, I wasn't for it at all. Like, this is not going anywhere. They had a little bit of a conversation. She kind of looked, I don't think she apologized. She just kind of, and then when it started getting a little, becoming heated, she's like, hold up, stop. I just want to focus on my date. Now she's getting the idea. Now she's beginning to understand and believe in the process. Don't fall for. I'm not saying it was a tactic, but why he want to have a conversation right before a date? Yeah, did she have those? I don't know. Or maybe she had those kind of conversations before his dates too. So both of them are doing it. I don't know. But anyway, she stops him in his tracks and says, you know what? Operation Get Ready for My Date. So we can put this on the coals right now, and we'll pick up later. So I'm not doing that. I thought that was a good idea. So Alexia goes on her dates. A gentleman, somebody called Monty, seems like a nice guy, educated guy. I think he said was an engineer, divorcee. I think he has a kid, open to having, no, he has all the boxes checked for what you might be looking for. Someone who's familiar with commitment, ready for another commitment, not necessarily right then, but it's open to it. And then, they had a great conversation. It appeared to me for the first time, I don't know if this is her third or fourth date, I can't remember, with a different person, but she seemed to be more relaxed. Maybe because it started off as like a basketball date, and she had mentioned before, earlier on in the piece, she said that a lot of time when she felt stressed out, she would go play basketball and that would relax her. So maybe that's what's going on, but she was really relaxed and really interested in the date. So it could be a combination of both the person she found interesting and the fact that she was in familiar setting. Basketball, they played a great game. She had beaten him, as an athlete, even when you're playing, you're competitive. So maybe, winning just kind of just made her, put her in a great mood. And so they had a great conversation. And then of course he was saying, right, perfect alignment. Everything was just aligning. And she just seemed more open. So he's definitely let her know that, hey, I like you, you like me, what's up? So in between the date, or I guess during the time she's meant to be on the date, Darion had requested some time with Dr. Nicole just to have a conversation with her, and he was just like, how do I get through to her, or have her not always have her guard up and have that, the tough exterior, like, you're not gonna respect me, blah, blah, blah. That it's difficult to communicate with that. And, you know, Dr. Nicole asked him 3 questions, and he, you know, she's like, what is that? What is that? What is that? Yeah, she got arm up, she got thick skin. I think this kind of ties into what we talked about last week when I said sometimes, because he wanted, you know, the soft feminine side, but did he ask himself what he had done for her to have the armor up? What has he created? What did he do to her for her to feel that she always has to be in protective mode? Like she can't be vulnerable because she doesn't want to get hurt. What caused this? They didn't show all that conversation. We're filling in the blanks here, but it was similar to what we talked about last week. So that's what it looks like. And I think that's what Dr. Nicole is alluding to, that clearly she has a barrier up, clearly she has a guard up. Are you creating a safe space for her? You know, where she can feel comfortable enough to be herself and bring down the barriers. Because 14 years, you have barriers, 14 years. Clearly some haven't. Like she's not a monster. She's you know, she's not just like, yeah, if she was a monster, you wouldn't be with her. So clearly something transpired. You probably haven't acknowledged it and taken responsibility for it and stopped that behavior thing, whatever it is, enough for her to just, you know, be herself. Because, you know, one way we can demonstrate if we stop talking is really body language. And her body language, yeah. Like she ready for an episode of Love and Hip Hop. Talk to her crazy and see what happens. Kind of attitude. Which is probably just her, you know, her guard, her protection. And she's an athlete. She knows how to put up the front and keep that energy up. But really, that's not what she wants. Or she wouldn't want to get married. She still wants to get married. So Darren goes on his date with Kai. I think it's the 5th date or the 4th. I think it's the 5th date that he's having with Kai. And by this point, you know, I feel like Kai talking recklessly. Like Kai. Like stop. Like yeah, you know when my brothers keep and my sisters keep it, you know this is somebody else's guy. And I know you have to look out for self, and it's a show, and it's this, so it makes great TV when you misbehave, but I don't like the direction she was coming in. Like, I'm not going to threaten her or anything, no, but woman to woman, it was just, yeah. Like, she was putting him on the spot, applying pressure, like, you're going to see me again, and you're going to pick me, and he's still kind of, he told her point blank, I love my girl. Well, you can love someone from distance. What's that? That, like, from the page of, you know, jump off Bible. Like, you can love, nah. If he said that, you respectfully, like, I don't know, last season, the dude, what's his name again? I think his name was Michael. I don't remember what his name was, but he had a similar situation when he'd gone on multiple dates with the girl. They had great chemistry, but the lady was just very, you know, classy in her. She was like, you know, you have to make a choice, but she didn't push him. She didn't say this, she didn't say that. She was not like this. Like, Kai is like, she's running with, like she's reading, you know, the jump off Bible. Like she's doing too much, and to her detriment. I can guarantee you put pressure on someone like this, when he said something key like that and you're still coming off, even if he does leave the main lady, he's not coming to you. He's not. Mark my words. Can we underline that and put a circle with a dot in the middle and put that in a book? You do that after he said that, with that much pressure, trying, like, now she's trying to give up ultimate. Like, I don't know, not necessarily ultimatums. I'm doing a little too much now, but just the way she was pushing, like, you know, he was talking about stuff, well, I like being with you, and she's talking about, well, I'm not, you know, I'm not here to be your helper. See all this, you see, like, she was just doing too much. And if you're starting off on that note like this, you can only imagine what 6 months or 1 year from now will look like. You will be doing too much. And most guys, you know, have some experience, can see that they can see trouble a mile off. And so he's like, what? That you helped him. Actually, you know what? Her display on this date helped him make his mind up. So before, maybe he was just enjoying the candy in the jar. Now he's like, I definitely not opening the jar. So he not only did he not lift the lid up, he probably wrapped it, saran wrap him, told him to put up a high shelf. So anyway, they leave. You know, they leave. So now we're at the Wusa circle. And so, you know, Alexia talks about her date. She says she likes the fact that he's articulate. They have things in common. And she really enjoyed herself. And so she wants a second date with him. First time. All right, so she's looking out for herself now. Okay, she's going to understand the process. Darren talks about his date. And sometimes I think, I don't know if he's being a little too honest, or he's actually dropping this information to make a dig at his girl, Alexia. He's talking about how, you know, Kai seems to be, you know, developing feelings for him. So he's not really sure he wants to do a 5th date. So, you know, he says, no, 5th date. Hallelujah. clearly. Her little performance helped you make your mind up. Maybe she played it coy. That's why coy should be in the woman's dictionary. Unfortunately, it can't be all up in your face like this. Okay, he likes to hunt and doesn't like to be hunted. So anyway, so he says no to a 5th date. And then Alexia's body language was kind of off. And so Dr. Nicole says, you know, so how do you feel about that? And she don't really care. And then Darren further explained that, well, she doesn't really want me to go out with Kai anyway. She has so much as said so. Turns out she did say so, but Alexia initially was denying it. Then it just turns out the way she'd put it, like, you know, I remember, like, you go out on a date with her, I'm going to remember that when I'm going. So literally it was like, you know, a indirect way of just trying to manipulate the situation by threatening him that you do this. But now I got number 2. I'm going to make all of that to keep his mind running. And then Dr. Nicole was able to explain to her, you do that? Like, you're messing with the process. That's not what this process is designed for, not for threatening, but to actually kind of dig in deeper. And so she says, you know what I think you guys need to do? She's like, okay, they should both go on a date with each other next week. Darren's like, yeah, cool, I'm up for that. Because Alexa said no, she don't want no piece of it. Shocker. I don't know if she still annoyed and playing with her guard up, or she suddenly like feeling like I don't need to put up with this. That I you know, a guy that I possibly could like, I'm attracted to, who's articulate, has all these things going for him, has no problems with commitment, actually likes me, is into me. Maybe I don't need to put up with this. If that's what she's thinking, she's right. But it's not the end of the process yet. And so we're left right here. What's gonna happen? I mean, 14 years is a long time. Just be strong along. Because you're low-key, she's been strong along. Low-key, we've confirmed that she has this tough exterior because all these things that were happening in their relationship. He had 2 kids within that time frame. All these things. Is she willing to see him actually make a change? Or is she gonna pack that baby up and be done? We don't know. We're still just halfway through. So once again, we're really enjoying this, just seeing how relationships unfold and seeing how we can see people play themselves, either positive or negative direction. We can see it coming, but we can't see it in ourselves, human nature. But maybe in the future, once we are familiar with these kind of things, we'll see those things coming in our own lives and be able to sidestep landmines. Anyway, that's the hope, that's the purpose, that's the dream. Anyway, guys, it's been real. Thanks for watching and see you next week. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. All right, see you later. Lola, over and out. Thank you, guys.